good, very good. You ready to rock and roll, Greg? You want us to? I'll kick things off, and I think
No,
we're
just
starting.
you kick us off and I'm ready to rock.
Okay,
I got my
awesome.
notes in front of me, so I'm ready to go.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you. And y'all, just a quick word from the Easy Crew here. We're extremely grateful to have y'all for another Winning Wednesday. This is our twice a month community training session for the greater real estate space. One thing we're pretty passionate about here at Easy Home Search is making sure we give back to the greater real estate community. We're on a mission to build something better for the industry in our national search portal efforts here. And today we've got a very special guest, Greg Harrelson, joining us. And again, it's the time to give thanks. And I'm giving thanks to you today, Greg, for taking time out of your busy schedule to give back to our community. It really helps having folks like you come learn, come teach, educate, and lead a lot of us into being better real estate professionals. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, Greg. And if you've got anything to share, feel free to take over. I'll put myself on mute, but I'll keep an eye on the questions. So if you have anything that you want to ask Greg, y'all go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'll try and queue it up for him, but that way he can stay focused and focus on what he's trying to get through. So, Greg, I'll let you take it from here, my friend.
All right, well, good. Well, hey, I guess this is the committed crew, right? I mean, because got to face it, a lot of people are thinking about all the things that they've got to catch up on before they get going on Thanksgiving. So I tell you what, it's an honor to be able to occupy some of your time at a time where I know that we're all a little bit distracted, but. I'm a big believer in what Easy Home is doing, and so I'm just happy to contribute in any way I can to this this ecosystem. Talking about online seller leads, okay? And if we just talk about, there's a few things I love to talk about, and if I was to say in general, the most general way to describe it is any form of lead generation. I'm just an addict. I'm pretty much addicted to lead generation. So it's really what I've spent anywhere from the first day that I came into real estate, which was almost 30 years ago. I came in as a part-time telemarketer for my dad. In other words, I just prospected for him for about the first 6 months to a year. So all I did was lead generate in the beginning. And then once I did that, I pretty much stayed in the lead generation side of real estate ever since then. Today, though, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to talk about online seller leads because there's a whole different process when it comes to online seller leads. Now, offline seller leads could be different. Okay, you got seller leads that come from expireds, withdrawns, FSBOs, FURBOs, SOI, past clients. I mean, we could go on and on and on all the traditional ways to do outbound prospecting. But when we talk about online seller leads, we're talking about inbound. And there's a different approach that you have to take to inbound versus outbound. I mean, just like there's a different approach that you have to take with a buyer versus a seller. Well, I think the distinctions, the differences between outbound and inbound seller leads are extremely important to understand because I'm telling you, so many people get it wrong. And now I know, don't raise your hand, don't incriminate yourselves, but I'm just going to assume that every one of you, and if not every one of you, the ones that say, oh, not me, then you know somebody that said those leads suck. And I've never heard that term used more on any lead type than online seller leads. I mean, I hear it on the online buyer leads. Oh, they suck. Yeah, I got it. But the online sellers, I have never heard any source be that where people's opinion were that they were any worse than online seller leads. Now, I'll give you some facts. Okay, now this is fact. This is not Greg Harrelson truth. This is the data shows this in our industry. Okay, because sometimes I'll say this is a Harrelson truth, which means I probably can't back it up on data. But just like with 30 years of experience and doing what I do, then I say you probably want to bet on me. But this is just real data in our industry. Online seller leads that are coming from what's my home worth type of ads are converting around 8 to 10% on in a 12-month period of time. That is a fact. Now, you can't call most people couldn't call FSBOs and actually convert at that level. Online seller leads coming from a what's my home worth variation of an ad is around 9 to 10%. The ones that come in on cash offers, those are more like 15% and higher in a 12-month period. So here's where we want to start, because I'm going to really just I'm going to go with the basics here. But the first thing that I got to start is I've got to start with shifting or changing people's real estate agent state of mind, because it's the state of mind. I'm telling you, when an agent say they suck, then here's what that means. That means they will be one call, one attempt, and they'll never make another attempt. That's what we do. Like, if they're terrible, then why would we, as smart as we are as human beings, why in the world would we make multiple attempts to talk to somebody that's terrible? Why would we do that? So as soon as we label these leads as not being good, then we instantly set ourselves up for failure, because then instinctively we will not make the number of attempts. Period. So I've got to make sure that the state of mind of the real estate agent is in the right direction more than anything else, because the agent claiming they're no good is preventing them from following a process that will eventually show the results are really good. Now, the way that most online seller leads are generated is they're generated on, like I said, what's my home worth? Or some variation of that. There's many ways that you could actually ask that question, but that's usually the terms that people are going after. That's what's attracting somebody to actually click and then eventually be captured. Therefore, we get a lead. Or they might be coming in on like, hey, get a quick cash offer. Don't have to show your property. It's no inconvenience. Those are the types of advertisement. By the way, most real estate agents think those are like, oh, that's a scam. That's a joke. No one's actually going to actually click on that. Huh. It's clicked on so darn much. The industry still hasn't caught on to this. Meaning they've caught on to it, but because the conversion is not showing up, people are still skeptical. But the conversion has shown up. The challenge is that the agent that's getting the leads are not the one converting them, because the agents getting the leads are ignoring them because they actually sounded like they sucked. And then all of a sudden in 90 days, they convert with some random real estate agent across the street, because the original agent neglected them and didn't follow up after the first call. See, if anyone's ever called leads like this before, online seller leads, you would know if you've just called 5 people, you'll already hear this one. Oh no, I accidentally did that. Oh no, I must have accidentally clicked something. That wasn't me. I don't think, no, I'm not, I didn't do anything. And so as soon as they say that, it sounds so convincing, like they accidentally clicked on something. So why would you follow up with that person? Now, I went at the conversion con, I did something that I thought was pretty interesting. And maybe some others did and some others didn't. But I said, if you actually spell Greg Harrelson, my email address, and my telephone number, that's about 60 characters. So for somebody you would have to accidentally click on 60 characters in perfect order that spells out your name, a telephone number, and an email perfectly, and then hit submit. You can't accidentally do that. So even when somebody gives us the real data and we call the real telephone number and they say, oh no, there must have been an accident. I didn't mean to do that. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, is there anything I can help you with? No, we're not selling. Okay, well, do you mind if I, email you my information? Sure, you can email me your information. That's the one. that in 120 days ends up on the market. But I'm going to take you today, I'm going to take you through conversion, the basic process of how to actually convert them yourself. See, the leads are converting. The question is, are you going to be participating in that conversion? They're going to convert in spite of you. And they will convert in spite of me. Okay. I want to talk to you though, again, basics. I talked about the state of the mind of the real estate agent, but let me share with you the state of the mind of an online seller lead. Because see, I believe you got to understand them in order to better communicate with them. The state of mind is, I wonder what I could get for my property if I actually sold. That's what they're saying. That forces them to, that inspires them to click 60 times and then click submit. Or maybe I can get it sold fast and I don't have to, and I don't have to deal with, any agents. That's in their mind. Or maybe their state of mind is, yeah, I've been thinking of selling. This is interesting. Let me check this out. Or it could be, oh, this is cool. I've been thinking about it. Let me see what happens. Let me see what this is. That's the state of mind of the person who's clicking and who we're capturing. Basically, there is a thought in their mind. In the ad they clicked brings that existing thought to the forefront. That's all it did. Like, you've all heard this, little saying, or what I guess it'd be a saying, it's usually in coaching and mindset coaching, is that, you think of a red car, you're thinking, man, I really want to buy a red car. And then all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. You see, like, as soon as like you started thinking about the red car, you started driving, never noticed red cars, but now it's like every road you go down, there's multiple red cars. Were the red cars already there, or did they just actually randomly appear? They were always there. See, but because we are now thinking of, because the thought was there, we actually noticed the ad. That's what's going on here. It's their red car. They're seeing the red car. They saw the ad. And so all the ad didn't like inspire them to think about selling. Therefore, they clicked it. That ad brought the thought back from the back of their mind to the forefront of their mind. That's all the ad did. And they impulsively clicked it. That's what's going on. Now let's talk about, though, what are their fears? Because these seller leads, they have some fears. Kind of like that fear that you have when you go into like Nordstrom's, the fear of like the salesperson is going to walk up to you and ask you like, hey, can I help you find something? And what do you immediately do? Because you're so fearful, you say, no, I'm just looking. No, I'm just looking. No, just looking. See, these online seller leads, they have fears. Their fear is that now someone else knows what they are thinking about, and they aren't sure if they're ready to start talking about it. You see, a lot of times these buyer leads, they click on a button that says contact agent. So what do they know? When they hit contact agent, what do they know? Someone's going to contact them. But when they actually hit find out what my home is worth, and they already put their information in, even if it's just partial information, they put that information in. There's no conversation at this moment that an agent's going to be calling them. All of a sudden they do this and they get a call. Oh my gosh. One of their fears is now someone knows that what I'm thinking about. And I'm not sure if I'm willing to like have this conversation yet. What do they do when they have a fear? No, that wasn't me. Must have been my son playing on the computer. If they say that, don't say this, but just know this. Anybody that has a son playing on somebody's computer right now, the son does not know the parent's telephone number. So they could not have actually put the freaking telephone number in there. They don't know. Ask your children if they know your number. I guarantee you my children do not know my number. They know how to click my name and then it just rings. So you see how these like all these smoke screens bubble up, but what I figured out, these don't even make any sense. It's not that they're telling us lies, because I don't think they're liars. I think they have fears. It's another fear. It's possible they haven't even told their family that they're thinking about moving yet. That's a possibility. Now they got to talk to a stranger about it. Or they have a fear that they're going to be bombarded with useless information, be spammed to death. They fear that you may ask them to sell and maybe they're not ready yet. That'll be awkward. That'll be like intimidating to them. They hate that they're now discovered and now they feel vulnerable. That's what's going on. Now, listen, this isn't going to all be about mindset. I'm going to get very tactical very fast. But when I share with you the tactics and the scripts that I'm going to share with you, you got to understand that the reason why I'm going about the call the way that I'm getting ready to share with you is because I know this about the online seller lead. I know that they're freaked out. So the last thing we need to do is say, oh, hey, James, I saw that you clicked on what's my home worth. I can see you're ready to sell. No, they are hanging up. You cannot go in right like that. You can't go, oh, hey, James, I just wanted to give you a call back. I noticed you have been searching your property's values. It looks like you're thinking about selling, sometime in the near future. How can I help you? Wrong. You will never get them to open up, because what you did is you just showed them that every one of the things that they feared is real. And they were right. They should have feared it. They should fear talking to you. So they are going to do everything they can to escape. So it's very important the way that you approach this lead, that you don't actually stimulate additional anxiety and additional fears, or they're gone. Hence why we say as an industry, these leads stink, because they are the absolute masters at the smokescreen. Expireds are masters at the objection. Online seller leads are masters of the smokescreen. But here's what I can say about smokescreen. If you can hang out for 10 seconds on the phone, the smoke dissipates. Unlike an expired, after you handle one objection, there's another one. Online seller leads, once you've waited out their smokescreen, there's not another one. They don't say, oh, it must have been an accident. And then we're like, 10 seconds later, they say, oh, it must have been my son. And then 10 seconds later, they say something. No, it doesn't happen. It's not because it's not an objection. It's a smokescreen. So let's talk about the approach. And I always say, not all leads, you can't treat leads like it's a one script fits all. Every lead source, every lead type, there should be a different way to approach it. As long as you understand the fears and the state of mind of the person that is that lead at that moment, then the script should always be slightly different. One script does not fit all. So I'm just going to kind of share with you this script, and I'll share it with, Preston and Mac. If they want to share it with y'all later, that's perfectly fine. I can send it to them. But it would just be like this. Agent says, hello, Travis. You say hello, Travis, with an upswing, which means kind of like, that it's Travis. Hey, Travis. That means it's Travis, so no stranger danger there. It's very important. Don't say, is this Travis? If you say, is this Travis, you've revealed yourself. They don't know you, and they don't want to get to know you. So, hello, Travis. This is Travis. Hi, Travis. Hey, my name's Greg Harrelson with XYZ Company here in Myrtle Beach. I think you're the owner of 123 Easy Street, and I've been recently sending you some information about your property's value. I'm just wanting to confirm that you've been receiving that information. Have you been receiving that? Oh, yeah, I've been thinking. Well, basically, I've been sending you price opinions and estimates on your property's value. I'm just kind of curious. As to what you think about that value. Did you think that value was right on the money or maybe a little bit high, or did you think it might be a little bit low? They will answer that question. I promise you, they are going to answer this question. Hey, I'm just kind of curious what you thought about the price that I sent you. Did you think that was a little bit high? Maybe a little bit low, or maybe right on the money? Well, I thought it was a little low. And then agent says, oh, yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I was thinking the same thing. You know, online estimates are often off a little bit since they're not actually evaluating your individual home. It's kind of like looking at averages in that particular area. I'm just curious though, how long have you lived in the property? Now I'm going to take them away from what they did, the activity that they did online. I'm going to take them away from their value, and I'm going to take them to this other space. Like, I'm just kind of curious, how long have you owned the property? How long have you lived in the property? Oh, about 5 years. Oh, wow. You haven't been here that long then. You know, I'm just curious, where did you move from? Came here from New York. New York. Okay. I hear that a lot. You know, ever thought about going back up there? I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but maybe not anytime soon. Okay. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, tell me a little bit more about your property though, because I'm going to do some additional research and make sure I give you some pinpointed, some pinpointed information on your property's value. What kind of condition is it in? So I'm taking them away to where did you come here from? How long have you owned here? What kind of conditions your property? You ever thought about going over there? And here's what I'm waiting for. Once they lighten up and you can see that they're starting to have a conversation, that's when you go in and ask them more about if they're thinking about selling. So, an example. Oh, just kind of curious. How long have you lived here? 5 years. 5 years. Fantastic. Where did you happen to move from? New York. New York. Okay, well, that's interesting. I hear that quite a bit. I'm just kind of curious. I mean, you ever thought about going back to New York? Well, I don't know. It's winter right now and it's a little bit cold, so I'm not really sure if we're going to move back there or what we're going to do. But we're not going to do anything right now. The difference in the three answers that I got was answer number one, 5 years, was 5 years. Where'd you move here from? New York. So you know that you're gaining trust or building rapport when their word count starts to increase. Now, hear me. If I ask a question, New York, and they don't expand, then ask another softball question. Oh, New York. Well, how did you happen to choose this area? I have family down there. See, their word count's very low. Well, I have family down there, and and then my grandkids, are here also, and it looks like my grandkids might be thinking about going back up to that area. You see how the word count? There's more words. I don't even care what they're saying. I'm just monitoring word count. Low word count, less trust. Low word count, less rapport. More word count, more trust. More word count, higher word count, more rapport. As they will, after I get through 3 or 4 softball questions, the word count's going to go up. Then I can say, gosh, it sounds like it's in pretty good condition. Well, let me ask you this. Realistically, when do you think you might actually be considering selling the property? Well, I mean, that's the thing. We're just not sure yet. That's how the conversation goes. You call them up. You say that you've been sending some information to them because you just did, by the way, property value information. Been sending it. What'd you think about it? By the way, how long have you owned the property? How'd you happen to pick that neighborhood? Where'd you move from? Would you go back there? What kind of conditions your property in? Word count goes up. Now I go and say, hey, I'm just kind of curious. I help a lot of people, evaluate their property's value. And I'm just kind of curious that, when do you plan on selling the property? Well, and then they start opening up. Now, here's the key. The conversation is going to go one of three ways. They're either going to say never, they're going to say not sure, or they're going to give you a time frame. That's what they're going to do. Once I get here, when do you plan on selling? They're going to say either never, not sure, or time frame. So let me address every one of them. If they say never, then that means they are a dreamer. See, there's dreamers, there's explorers, and there's actual sellers. There's people dreaming about moving to a different place. Then there's those explorers. They're in the exploration phase, which is now they're gathering some intel about a potential move. And then there's those people that are moving. So they're either going to say never, not sure, or they're going to give us a time frame. If they say never, that means they're in the dreaming phase. If they say never, and you end up getting off the phone at some point after a great conversation, let's just assume they're gonna end up, but it's gonna be a never answer. You're gonna send them a text when you hang up and just say, hey, I just really wanted to say thank you for chatting with me. Let me know if there's anything I can ever do for you. Love to be a resource for you. You're going to set them up. Most of you are probably in Follow Up Boss, but whatever CRM that you're using, you'll set them up on some sort of action plan. But you got to call them back in 60 days. Now, let me tell you why. Remember what I told you about the conversion ratio? I said it's really good conversion ratio over a 12-month period of time, but let me give you more fact, not Greg's truth, fact. The fact is the biggest bulk of the 12-month conversion comes in month 3, 4, and 5. So guess what? Don't call them in 3 months. They'll be listed. You got to get them in 60 days. Got to get them before that. So you got to call them on 60, 90, 120. Those are very important points to reach out to these sellers. So what I was saying here is you call them back in 60 days. Call them again in 30 days. And call them again in another 30 days. Now, unless something that you learn on this call is like it was determined that either now they're a maybe or now they're definitely no, don't ever call me again, then yes, okay, don't call that one back in 30 days. You kind of know. But if they're still kind of like, well, no, we're really not, we're still not really doing anything, then call them back in another 30 to 60 days. When you set up an action plan, monitor and see who's engaging. Now, I believe no matter how motivated they are, no matter how unmotivated they sound, you've got to call them back in the 60 days. Because there's no such thing as a bad seller lead. Because your worst seller lead is a documented owner that you can put into a database, institute a 60+ nurture touch plan over a year. In other words, 60+ touches over a year. And then in 2 years, you'll be going crazy at how many come list me calls you're going to get. There's no such thing as a bad lead. There's like, okay, there's one that just doesn't convert right now, but now I'm building a database of documented property owners that I'm going to add value to their lives through a 60 touch nurture program over a year. And I'm going to do that every single year. And then all of a sudden I'm going to become a household name. And then they're going to call me and email me and say, hey, I've been thinking about selling. Can you give me a call? Got to play the long game here. The long game. Now, I told you there's going to be some people that are going to be explorers. They're not sure. If they're not really sure if they're going to do anything, you send a text after you hang up. Hey, it was really nice talking to you. I'm going to send you some updates and, if things start to change regarding the property's value. Just a little text, just saying, hey, I'll just stay and communicate. Then activate an email action plan again, but call them back in 14 days. See, they may have just been saying, well, we're really not sure, because they were not sure if they wanted to tell you that they were sure. Remember, they have those fears. So you got to call that I'm not sure, because they weren't an I'm not sure is not a never. So an I'm not sure has got to be a 14 days. And then of course you activate for everybody a 60 touch nurture plan. If they have a time frame, that's a seller. Okay. Attempt to set an appointment right there. If no appointment, if they won't give you an appointment at that time, email them a condensed listing presentation with no price. In other words, I have a presentation that I have that has no price for these type of people that I'm not going to be able to get into the door and present to, but it's going to say, here's some important things that I do from a marketing standpoint. Here's some important things that I do when it comes to how we generate leads and create buyers. Here's some important things for you to understand about pricing. Here's 3 different options on pricing. We can go this, or not, I won't give them a price, but we can go a quick sale, we can go a long sale with a max price, or we can go a fair market sale. And I'm giving them something like that. It's fairly detailed, and I'm sending that to them, winning them over with valuable information, calling them back in 14 days. Well, I will say, I'm going to send that email. And when I see that they opened the email, because I'm going to be monitoring them, when I see that they opened the email, that's going to trigger me a call within 24 hours after they open the email. And I'm going to say, hey, did you get the email that I sent you? Did you have any questions? Then they go on a 14-day, then they go on a call in 14 days. And then after that call in 14 days, I will determine where we're going to go on the next call. So I don't want to say call them every 14 days because it might not be necessary. I don't know what you're going to learn on the next call. I'm not going to say call them every 60 days. That might be too long to wait because I'm not sure what you learn. But what I can say is that you've got to make these calls when I'm telling you to make these calls. And then from that standpoint on, then you can determine when the next call should be. Now, remember, I said there's dreamers, there's explorers, and then there's actual sellers. Here's truth, Greg's truth. Every seller was first a dreamer. That's why there's no bad leads. There's leads that don't convert today that go into my database. And then I have a 60 plus touch plan. So my way of, so I remember I was trained by Mike Ferry in the early years, and he was always teaching us how to monetize in lead generation. But one thing that I thought of that we didn't really talk about is, what about all these no's that I get? Anybody can monetize a yes, but why don't we start monetizing the no's? So all these people that we're hearing no, they go into my database, and then I go into this massive drip campaign, adding tremendous value over multiple years. And then these no's become come list me calls, which turns them into yeses. So I just monetized all these no's. Every seller that converts was a dreamer. And the only reason why the real estate agent didn't convert the dreamer is because they ignored the lead when they were in the dreaming phase. So therefore, the lead ignored the agent when they were in the selling phase. Secret about that, again, I told you the secret about the lead conversion is 3 through 5th, 3, 4, and 5th month. That's again why you got to make sure that you're set up your plan to call them 90, 120, and 150 days. Well, 60, 90, 120, and 150. That's what it should be. I didn't tell you the 150 before. But once we get to 60 days, you got to call each one of them every 30 days. Unless they absolutely convince you that there's no way, and it's not a smokescreen, it's a firm. It's never happened. It's never going to happen. Okay. So why do so many agents fail at these leads? Number one cause of failure is agents fall for the smokescreen. I've kind of talked to you a good bit about the smokescreen. The number 2 cause of failure on these leads is too few attempts. Too few attempts. It's not, I won't put on here not enough contacts. That's not going to be the reason why people fail. The reason why people don't make enough contacts is because they don't make enough attempts. So we don't have to talk about contacts, even though I do calculate contacts. But the number 2 cause of failure with these leads is not enough attempts. We actually think, well, they already got their information, that little property value, online property valuation. I left them a message. I sent them an email. They haven't called me back. So then we just wait and wait and wait. No, you got to make multiple attempts. And yes, it's got to be 8 or more attempts over a 3 or 4 day period of time. And then you can give it a 3 or 4 or a week period of time where you make no attempts and then go after it again. Too few attempts. The third cause of failure, in my opinion, which is the most common, agents are not using multiple methods to make their attempts. They're making just calls. They're not doing call, text, and email. So you got to do a call, text, email day 1. And then you can do an email, text, call day 2. And then day 3, you can do a text, email, call. And then day 4, you can do a call, text, email. You see, you got to actually meet them or reach them or attempt to reach them from multiple channels. Very, very important. It's amazing how sometimes we'll call, no answer, text, response. So be careful at what you text. Like, here's a text you can send. You could take the easy home valuation or the valuation that they were given, take the link of the valuation, drop it in the text, and just say, hey, here's an online estimate of your property. I just wanted to get your opinion on what you thought about the price. Did you think that was high, low, or just right? They are going to click the link. Watch them. They're going to click the link. They can't stand it. They've got to click it just to see. We just got them engaged. You got to use multiple methods. So more attempts, multiple methods. And then the number 4 major cause of failure is too little follow-up. We don't follow up. Now, I don't think that agents, well, no, I won't say that. I was going to say I don't think agents are lazy. I'm not going to say agents are lazy, but I'm not going to say I don't think they're lazy. So I'm going to be very neutral on that one. Don't want to offend anybody the day before Thanksgiving. What I will say is this. We convince ourselves that it's a waste of time to follow up because we actually buy into their smokescreens. We convince ourselves, we justify not following up. Oh, Greg, I mean, they just said they weren't really thinking about doing anything. They weren't really sure if they're going to sell. And now you're telling me to follow up in 14 days? Yes, because I just think that they were not sure about revealing their truth to you because you're a stranger. But if you do send them something and add more value and follow up again, the conversation may sound slightly different the next time. And we cannot risk not making that call because that might be the converter. Before we wrap up here, there's a few don'ts to online sell leads. Don't lead off with, oh, I see you're thinking about selling. That's like saying, I caught you. I caught you. You're checking out your property's value. I caught you. You didn't know I was going to catch you, but I caught you. I was watching. Ooh, don't do that. You can't do it. You can do that with a buyer. Oh, I noticed you were inquiring about this property. You can say that about a buyer. Because why? Because they need something from you. That they need access to the property. They need something from you that the internet cannot provide. It's called access. So we can just go right at it with the buyer, but not the seller, because the reality is they actually got online everything that they wanted to get. They didn't need an agent to give them what they actually got online already. Now, I know we think they need us because, well, that's inaccurate information. So therefore they need me, but they don't know it's inaccurate information. So they think they got everything they need. A buyer doesn't think they got everything they need. That's why they welcome the call. The seller doesn't. So don't lead off with, I see you're thinking about selling. Don't buy into their logic. In other words, whatever their smoke screen is, don't buy it. Wait it out. And don't judge the book by its cover up. Not by its cover, by its cover up. That's a smoke screen again. Don't judge the book by its cover up. When they say, "Oh no, no, we're not going to do anything," just don't judge it as a bad lead. If you tell yourself a story that it's a bad lead, I promise you, you will not follow up with that lead. You may as well just put them all in a big file and email them all to me, because I will take them all in any market. I'll take them because we just refer them back to you. The 3 do's of online seller leads. Number 1, monetize the no.
You're like,
Hold on. There you go. Some monitor. That was pretty quick there, Mac. The 3 do's: monetize the no. In other words, when you get a no, put them in your database, build a massive database so you can get a come list me call. Every lead is a potential relationship with a property owner. Never delete one of these leads. You can delete buyer leads all the time if you want to. I don't, but I never delete an owner, a property owner. Monitor the engagement. Keep an eye on them. One way is that you can do this. Way I do it is in Follow Up Boss. I have a smart list created that has if tagged, like say tag equals easy home seller lead. I'm kind of paraphrasing this because I don't really know what the exact tag label is, but it's something like that. So tag is easy home. Tag is easy seller lead. Last email activity is less than 3 days. So now what I know is anybody that is a seller lead that I got from this seller lead source, that as I'm actually working my automation, I have a smart list where they bubble up, and people that are engaging and opening and clicking through my emails, it's going to show up in that one smart list. So I always know. And guess what? You're going to see people are going to show up over and over in that smart list. Those are the ones that are continuing to consume, and consume. Then stay on them. That's how we use this, our CRMs as lead identification systems. So you got lead capturing, lead generating systems, which is like what Easy's doing to give us the leads. Then you got lead conversion, which is what we are. We are the human converter. A lead source, a lead company is not a converter. A CRM is not a converter. A source is a source. An agent is converter, and a CRM is an identifier. So you've got to set up your follow-up boss or something that shows that these people are engaging. This category of people are engaging, and then you go in and you work that smart list like crazy. And then the third one is meet them. Well, Greg, what if they say they're not really ready to list? Meet them. Yeah, but they said it's going to be 6 months. Meet them. Telling you right now, meet them. Again, we got to remember buyers and sellers take 2 different types of plans. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to meet every single buyer that just says, yeah, I'd love to buy one day. But a property owner, they already own something. A transaction's going to occur. Meet them. A buyer may or may not transact. Any chance you can get face to face, even if it's a preview of a property, do it. You got to play the long game. All right, Mac, was there questions? I wasn't really looking there, so I see some comments. I don't know if there are
Greg,
questions.
Greg, one of the things I want you to talk about
Yes, Preston.
is because obviously the one thing we do, like from Easy Home Search standpoint, we still deliver the lead to the team, even if we don't capture a phone number. Because the idea with that, exactly what you said, and what I tell people, one, if they're a lead coming in or an opportunity coming in and they put in an address, so they have to put an address in, hit return. They have to put in a name, email, hit return, and they have to put in a phone number and hit return. So obviously we still pass that, like 55% of the leads that we generate on seller side put in a phone number. Another 45% do not. So is there anything that you could share what you do if you don't get a phone number? And, the reason why we pass it, because we get the most important thing, which I think is the address, right? Once you have the address and name and email, the rest of the information you could collect is much easier.
Yeah, it's perfect. And before I share with you exactly what you do, let me tell you why I do what I do. I'd like to give you all the why behind the what. Okay. When auditing was done And there's multiple companies that have done audits on these types of leads now. Okay. And what we saw is, I'm going to call them a partial lead. They gave you partial information. Okay. Not all the information. The partial leads convert nearly at the same rate as the full sign up leads do. There was very little difference between the conversion of the ones that only gave us an address versus the one that gave us full information. Okay. So once I learned that, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm going to make sure I go in and I find the data on everybody. So we have something called Exact Dial. Abe actually built it. So we do exactdial.com, www.exactdial.com, and we just go in and we append it. So we look up every single one and we get the real information and we just give them a call. And everything else, we run them through every single system that I just said today. It's just that we go after those people. The cool thing is about those people is they're doing that on every website they're signing up, and your competition is actually not looking up taking the extra step to look up the data. So like there's no one's calling them. Those are like, and by the way, they don't say, oh my gosh, I didn't put my information in there. How dare you? They don't ever say that. Because they're like so caught up in their own fears, like, oh my gosh, someone knows now I'm thinking about selling. It just never comes up. But that's what we do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Greg, I had one good question come through that I wanted to queue up to you. I know you mentioned a variety of different ways you're trying to reach out to them, and also, a shortened version of the listing presentation sent over at some point. Someone asked if it would be a good idea to do it in video form, like a bomb. I know that that's been popular, but basically talking through a recorded version of the listing presentation.
I think it's possible. Well, let me just say this. I have not tested that. So I don't have any information that I can share with you about that. I think it's a good idea. I think video is unbelievable. And nearly everything that I do not everything, but at least twice a month in my 60 touch campaign, they are getting video. Okay. 2 of the touches are going to be video. But I will say I question whether or not, and you could test it, I question whether or not somebody's going to watch a 5, 6, 8 minute video and you haven't established enough rapport yet. So I know the email works very well for this, but I would be interested on any feedback if somebody says they were successful at it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you can get it down to a condensed video format, it might be okay. But you've probably seen more than I, Greg, but I see a lot of like PDF condensed version of like what to expect in a listing presentation or recap of the services that the organization provides if you list with them.
Yeah. And let me say this, you know how Preston and John they've been notorious about creating long email posts or long posts on Facebook, and they don't have a lot of gimmicks and gadgets. It's not sexy. It's just raw. That's what's working.
Yeah.
So like these PDFs, man, I mean, if you got all a bunch of PDFs, great, good job. Better than nothing. But I think we need to go back to just an old fashioned email. And
Oh
it's in
yeah, you're going to see it too. The one thing, Greg, point on that is send your HTML newsletter or send a basic email, and you'll see a big difference in majority of us on here are on John's emails. I'm sure we get them. There's a reason why I get 75% open rate. It's obviously the content he shares, and we all want to read it and look at it, but the same thing that he's doing, you could do with the consumer, right? The consumer is so tired. The way the email is set up now, a lot of those heavy weighted emails never get delivered anymore.
Yeah.
So, you look at it from that standpoint, but somebody else had a question too on like, how could I meet them if they're in a different location? Get on Zoom. We all understand Zoom. Most people understand Zoom now, especially going through COVID and all that. Most people have been on a Zoom call. If you really think about it, like you're 2, 3 feet, 1 foot, whatever it is, away from your computer screen. I'm 1 to 2 feet away from my computer screen. We're really 3 feet apart if you really measure it that way. So that's a way to get in front of somebody where you could actually communicate with them and build a relationship, because obviously they see your face and speaking on a Zoom. That's the one way that if you're trying to connect with somebody beyond just a phone call, and you can't, they're in a different market or whatever, get them on a Zoom call.
Yeah, and I think that was Soroya that said that. I'm looking at that. So the reason why I created a condensed version email of a listing presentation, the original reason is because of my Myrtle Beach market and the absentee owners. That's how I actually really developed a lot of rapport with them. So you being in Hawaii, this works perfectly for you. But once I saw it work for them, then I opened it up to my other markets and realized, well, it works in every market.
Scott had one, I think this is the last one, Greg. Will the 60 touch follow-up program come in your 6-week listing mastery class?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be one of the speaking of PDFs, I think I have a PDF that's going to be shared with everybody in that. I won't really be coaching on that as a subject matter that much, but I'm going to touch on it, but then I'm going to just show exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point, Greg. Tell us about that real quick, just so there's people on this call if they want to learn more on the listing side with you. You have that coming up with John, and just go ahead and share that if you would.
Yeah, John and we're doing a 6-week listing mastery class where I'm just going to go in and, kind of go through from A to Z, the things that I believe needs to be done if somebody wants to start taking a lot of listings. Now, I'm a little bit kind of, again, I've got a passion for listings, number one, and I'm a lead junkie. So when I say like a lot of listings, I'm not talking about 4 or 5 a month or 2 a week. I'm talking, 10, 15, 20 a month. That's how I think. And that's how I coach. Okay. Because really the only difference between somebody doing, say, 1 or 2 listings a month and somebody doing, say, 10 or 12 a month is really mindset. It's really mindset. There could be a little bit of how that's needed. And I'm going to go through a lot of the how on how to actually do this. And it's the exact coaching that I coach in my office for those that are really committed to being mega listing agents. And most of them take over 10 a month.
I love it. I think that's most of the questions. Anything else? Last call for questions, y'all. And while y'all compile your final thoughts, um, simple plug for Easy Home Search. I know there was a question earlier from someone about how to get more of these opportunities. We're on a mission to find the best partner in each county across the country where we have access. And we're already generating, seller leads in areas where we don't have preferred partners. Reach out to our team. I'll drop the link, partnerwitheasy.com. Again, we run a county exclusivity model. So, it's a matter of checking to see if it's available or not. But we'd love to certainly take a look and see if we can't help you and pair that with a lot of what Greg's teaching here. We think you can probably see a lot of results with what we're doing. I know a lot of our partners are seeing great results early on. So shameless plug there, but felt like we had to share it as it's
and Greg shared that listing, the mavericklisting.com. That link is in the chat. So if that's something y'all want to learn more about, the 6-week program, it's in there as well.
Yeah, awesome. And then our next Winning Wednesday, we're going to have our very own Nikki Pais join us for getting past the first 2 minutes. So major metric for most sales orgs and real estate organizations are not so much looking at the number of dials made or appointments. Obviously, appointments set and met are very important, but the length of the call too is a big measure. So how to, what Greg was saying earlier, building rapport, the number of words people are speaking, how do you increase the time that you're on a call with a lead? Nikki's going to be diving into that. She's one of our conversion coaches too. So that'll be 2 weeks from today. I believe that's what, the 11th? Am I remembering that right? But we'll be sending emails out. If y'all haven't joined our Facebook group, Easy Home Search, please do so. We drop all of our sessions there and what we'll be hosting. But we appreciate all of y'all taking the time out of your busy schedules to learn, hear from Greg. I know I learned a ton. And come find us and connect with us there. Any last words, Preston or Greg, before we let everyone go?
No, just thank you, Greg, man, for showing up for sure and doing this.
Yeah. No, you're very welcome, Preston. Anytime. I'm sure we'll do this a lot more. And just say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, sir. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.